Is everything going? Awesome. Workshop today all together. So our team will be policymaking through the youth lens for SDG 5, gender equality. But before everything else, I want to just ask you, how is your UNJ 80 week going on? High level week? Good? Any events that you've been joining besides IYC at UN? Okay. This week's traffic is hectic. People are running from one place to another. I'm pretty sure you're engaged in fruitful discussions as well. Well, I am Cemil Ülker, representative of the Journalists and Writers Foundation to the United Nations. And my particular expertise is covering civil and political rights violations in conjunction with multilateralism, women's rights, and democratic governance. So for today's discussion, I also have my youth representative to the UN, Priyanka Chahal, a medical doctor doing her master's at Harvard University. And I will have my interns, Elif and Zeynep, to assist us with the workshop session. So our agenda today is to have a very brief review on the status of SDG 5, gender equality. We will be briefly discussing about the challenges of implementation at the stage I will introduce you again with my short reflections, the Human Peace and Security Agenda endorsed by the Council. Then we will watch 10 minutes of a video remarks that I have received 2 years ago from the first elected women mayor of Nili from Afghanistan, Ms. Azra Jafari, and she will be discussing the gender-related barriers that she has been encountering while she was leading this critical political position. And then we will have our audience into 3 different working groups, and we would love to have your reflections. We will have sticky boards for you to write any thought-provoking ideas or keywords, and then I will ask from each and every one of the group to elect a spokesperson, and then we will have an interactive discussion on your suggestions, on your policy actions to resolve some of the challenges that Azra will mention coming up soon in her presentation. So just a brief introduction before I leave the platform to Priyanka. We are really at a stage where positive peace remains in a rampant decline, unfortunately. And when we know about positive peace, the absence of conflicts are never enough for us at this stage. We need good relations with our neighbor states, elevation of women's rights for all, as women's rights are human rights, equal economic prosperity for everyone, respect of human rights to everybody regardless of their gender identity, religion, ethnicity, and so forth. But we see a stampant decline in all of these variables. And there are a historic increasing number of regimes, autocratic regimes, turning against multilateral collaboration. We see artificial intelligence and most of their hampering implications on the human rights status. Our really malfunctioning ecosystem, media ecosystem, is harming sustainable development on many different grounds, because we know that the rate of spread for false information is way higher than dissemination of true fact-checked information. And we also see daily outrages of genocidal acts taking place live on our screens that really, in this concerning state of world, hampers young generations' trust in multilateral systems and democratic governance. So we have to be extra alarmingly try to rebuild this trust, because at the end of the day, United Nations is still the only body where we see almost all the member states come here for their international collaborations. So let's first give the platform to Priyanka for her overview on the status of SDG 5, and I will be back to the stage with the introduction of Human Peace and Security Agenda.
Well, thank you, Jammer, for the introduction and the starting of the presentation. Hello, everyone. It's an honor and to be here, and I wish you a very good morning. We have been very tired since the past week during different changing engagements, but I believe that I was in a strong platform, and it's an honor to be here surrounded by young people across the world. So today, in my presentations, I'll be sharing about the global status of SDG 5 through the youth lens, and why it's important, and why we need to know more about it, and why numbers matters. So SDG 5, if I'll say in 1 minute, it is what and why. As what is the goal? So the goal for SDG 5 is to achieve the gender equality and empower all women and girls by 2030. And we are very close to 2030. It also covered the 9 key concepts, which are ending discriminations and violence to ensure that women leadership and they have all equal economic rights. Here you can see some of the target examples that are not all, but there are some. And why it is important to react on it now. So gender equality accelerates the progress in health, education, climate, peace, growth, and without SDG 5, all of the other global goals are under threat. So I want to also highlight for the 2025, are we on the track? We always keep talking about sustainable development goals, global agenda is in the 2030, but are we on the track? So the answer is we are off track, and this trend continues. 351 million women and girls will be still in extreme poverty by 2030, and that is quite scary. And in 2025, this year, 9.2%, which is 376 million of women and girls are in poverty versus 8.6, which are 355 millions of men and boys. And there are also the drivers which are slowing down the track or the target. So the conflict, the climate shocks, and the investments and the black lives. So what are the takeaways? Well, here you can see two of yellow and the red highlights, that is the statistics from the UNSC, that if we don't act now, then it will cost us quite high in the next generation. There's also the global gender gap, and the overall parity cost is 68.8%, which is global average. And I come from a health background, so I always try to focus on women's health and always try to connect the dots and try to fill the loopholes. If there is, the health is only having the 96.2% of sub-indexes for the women, and the message here is clear. You can see another percentage here as well, including political, which I will also highlight in the next presentation. The message here is that without the education, there is no, so equal education doesn't mean that equal pay, right? So the economic opportunities that women and girls are getting are also having different inequities. I want to highlight this, and I collected some numbers here, which I will show you in the next pie chart. That 640 million women and girls are alive today were married before 18. And nearly 45% of child brides live in South Asia, 20% in Sub-Saharan Africa, 15% in East Asia and Pacific, and 9% in LAC, and others are 11% only. There are many factors that are contributing to this crisis context, which are war, displacement, climate shocks, as I already mentioned, and that all contribute to heightening the GBV, which is gender-based violence. But youth can do great to solve these issues by building the youth coalitions, for instance, international youth conferences, a coalition of different young people around the world. You can organize faith groups or discussions groups or online spaces and change the norms. So young people involvement is quite important. Here you can see a pie chart where I just mentioned that where the child marriage survivors live in the global share. And in South Asia, it's 45%, other states in 11, Latin America and Caribbean 9%, Sub-Saharan 20, East and Pacific 15. So here is the question, intersectionality, who is left behind here? Well, inequality compounds by disability, poverty, and geography. Example, women and girls with disabilities have substantially low interest rates than the global average. So the closing this divide is very essential for education, jobs, and safety. And these data are from UNSC. Economic empowerment is quite important as well. So far, only the 61% gap has been closed, and there are still a lot of barriers, including the underrepresentation of women in STEM and leadership that also slows down the progress. Here is the participation and power, who decides. So that is quite concerning that the gap has closed only 22.9% for the political empowerment. And this is the data of 2025 as of now. So political empowerment is furthest behind, only 22.9% is closed, and women hold only 27.2% of seats in national parliaments, which has quite increased since 1995. By then it was only 10%, but still we need to improve it more. The motto is that nothing about us without us, and that's quite highlight of this presentation. So I'm going to wrap my presentations, but I would like to highlight this framework that if we can take these 5 moves, we can help. And how we can help? First, organize. And we can see the example here right now in this hall. Youth gender cabinets in schools, universities, any small actions, any city halls, any minor actions can improve things. Second is skill. So skill is very important. You need to learn about financial literacy, leadership bootcamp, and different skills of organization and management while talking to your peers, professors, teachers, friends, elders. And then third is safeguard. For the survivor centered protocols on campus or online, always make sure to see your surrounding, what's happening. You can ask your mom, grandma, and all of the other ladies in the communities, ask their problems, track them down, build a strategy, and find where are the problems and how you can take actions. The fourth is shared care, advocate for the child care too. The safe transport is very important. Advocate for that for two, flexibility in study and work. That if the girls are getting education in your community or not, in your surroundings, it's quite important to get education. And the fifth is the power shifting. So when we advocate as a young people, we also need to push the gender responsive budgets or the rights, and then we need to find also the youth seats in the decision making. And I can emphasize here on one of my favorite lines that if you see that there is no table for you to sit, or if you see that you are not finding any chair in the hall, it's quite easy and all our tables are reserved. And I think you can carry your own foldable chair or table along with you and just carry that always and sit in the hall and listen and speak instead. And the sixth, it is quite important, which is start local, but then start local and then try to find the answers while linking that from the SDG tracking. And United Nations is having a lot of different proceedings and different indicators that you can just download in free and learn more about why these goals are important and how you can implement those on your local settings. It's just a little call to action. It's not the big thing that I'm speaking here, but you can make it really 90 days. Just taking a small action, finding 3 allies, youth, government, private or tech, or even collaboration with any small university, college, or community center, and then publish one-page scorecard. And writing is important. People will know. Storytelling is quite important. Whatever you do, share to the people and write and tell others what you are doing too. And live experience are important. So you are powerful because you know what is happening on the ground, and then you are in this space, and you have to make sure that you want to share your stories. So I'll wrap here, and there's a last quote that youth can ban the class equality for 2030, and that is a highlight from the UN Women webpage. Thank you very much. I'll give the floor to Jim.
Thank you, Priyanka, for this overview. So now we have a foundational understanding on the status. We already experienced it in our lives, but let's continue to share some more reflections on women in leadership positions. But for first and foremost, I would like to acknowledge that women and girls are unfortunately very much disproportionately impacted by the stagnating status of the global goals. And it's a very harsh reality, but I would like to ask you about your opinion. What's the percentage you think by today, after 10 years of adoption of the Sustainable Development Goals, what is the percentage that you think are achieved? Any guesses of the Sustainable Development Goals overall? Where do we stand? Close enough? 10%? Let's be a little bit more optimistic. Just a little though, not much. Yes, almost there. 18% of the global goals. Well, it's quite concerning because you're almost there, but the goals are seem to be in peril. So very urgent actions are needed. And the even more dire situation is that even the another further 18% are in stagnation, which means that they are even backwards from the point of their original start. Many of the SDGs are even in regression, about 18% and so. So due to these systemic barriers, degrading norms of patriarchal societies, we see that half of the world population is still on the front line, but very much being disproportionately impacted. And 30 years after the declaration of the Beijing Platform for Action, the world's most comprehensive blueprint, really, for the advancement of women and girls ensuring equal access to all human rights, gender equality we see is still far from being achieved. There are many countries still restricting civil and political rights of women, many degrading legal norms when it comes to early marriages, child marriages, employment, access to economic resources, services are still behind from 50% equality. And to close these gaps, we need inclusive, gender-responsive policy suggestions because yes, there are many international human rights conventions, mandates, global institutions working to close this, this horrendous gap in between gender equality, but we see these discriminating social norms and not much enough investment in legal actions. Okay, then moving on with the resolution 1325, the famous 1325. Have you heard of before the Security Council's Women, Peace and Security Agenda? Yeah, I see that's nodding, of course. So this landmark resolution was endorsed by the United Nations Security Council back in 2000, Women, Peace and Security Agenda, to mobilize member states taking action to empower women leadership in conflict resolution, peacemaking, aiming to remove the systemic barriers and ensures women's full capacity involvement when it comes to prevention, reconciliation, but as well as transitional justice periods as well. So this resolution really targets to mobilize member states, create means to provide training to women advocates, political leaders, security officers, and support local women peace initiatives. And most importantly, urges member states to invest in national action plans. So when we have member states at the United Nations endorsing or being a signatory to a convention, it's not enough, it's only the first step. Then we need these political leaders to go back to their countries and work on national action plans, which means to integrate these resolutions into their national legal norms. So this agenda, Women, Peace and Security, it does not only refer to women in security forces, peace negotiators, but also covers women civil society members working towards establishing inclusive society, empowers women political leaders, human rights defenders, and activists. Because in the midst of historical high level of conflicts, we still see that women compose majority of advocates and activists when it comes to protests, really encountering in proportionate force of security officers trying to silence civil society voices. And even though the gap is still there, there are many improvements and success stories that this Security Council resolution achieved. And one of those is that because of this agenda and the advocacy force underneath to implement these into member states' national action plans, back in 2008, sexual violence was declared to be an act of genocide. This is very important. And it's one of the biggest achievements of the Women, Peace and Security Agenda, inclusion of sexual violence as an act of genocide. And of course, to mitigate all these intersectional problems, women leaders play a critical role in shaping the rule of law, how our legal systems are working to uphold rule of law, the independency of judiciary to take actions besides from the political forces that they may have, because we do know that when these resolutions contradict with the political agenda of leaders, mostly dictator leaders, they go around these resolutions and international norms and really take actions to suppress civil society voices and degrade human rights in many different forms. And these are the 4 pillars that the Women, Peace and Security Agenda aims to achieve, as we discussed: stop arming violence against civilians, uphold the international law, defend women's rights and gender equality, and very lastly, support the civil society movements that sustain this agenda. And before we move on with the video presentation of Azra Jafari, very lastly, as of January 1st, 2025, we know that women held 27.2% of the seats in national parliaments, and up to almost 5% increase from 2015 that we observed as of the beginning of this year. But an astonishing number, 102 countries, they never had a women heads of states or political leaders leading their governments. So as I noted, we do have enough resolutions, human rights treaties, but as long as there is no political will, we don't see any permanent and sustainable actions to endorse positive peace. So that's why we are absolutely in dire need of more women political leaders increasing their empowerment in leadership positions. Now, moving forward, we will be in groups of 3 in the room, and I will pose 2 questions in the TV coming up shortly. But as we, in working groups, try to foster policy actions, I want you to consider that when we are, as civil society members, human rights defenders, when we do work on policy actions, we must ensure that even though we are working with mostly dictators or very undemocratic leaders, we gotta know that we have to ensure a meaningful space for all, because at the end of the day, those individuals are there to be accountable. So the language that we have in our policymaking discussions and written documents are crucially important to make sure that we are inclusive of all stakeholders. 2, as we work on policy discussions at the United Nations as well, we know that the audience that we target are very well informed, they're already experts, and so the actions that we need to discuss should not really target to raise an awareness among the civil society, but really focus on mobilizing and using political leaders to take actions. And of course, we have to be realistic for the policy actions to take place. Even though, like the status of SDGs, we have higher targets, these policy suggestions must be duly and timely in place by the political leaders. Okay, so after the video, as I noted, we will be in groups of 3. We have sticky cardboards, pens, so I would really love every working group to work on these 2 questions. So the questions for today will be, what are the gender-related challenges highlighted in Azra Jafari's video, and we will have these, we will be coming back to this slide. And number 2, what policy actions do you as young professionals or experienced individuals here in the room, we propose as human rights advocates, and we can consider targeting either the United Nations or governments or civil society organizations, as they're always there to assist their member states to implement these. And within these 3 working groups, after the 10 minutes of discussions, I will ask one person to be a spokesperson. You can elect somebody even before you start your discussions to give us a brief presentation on what their group has really discussed, covered about the gender-related challenges, one, and what is your group's solution to mitigate the challenges and barriers noted by Azra Jafari. So to introduce you, Ms. Azra, she is the first female mayor and began her work as a human rights and social activist, establishing a non-profit school for Afghan refugees living in Iran. Throughout her career, Ms. Jafari, when she was back to Afghanistan, held many impactful positions in various councils and made history by becoming Afghanistan's first female mayor, very unfortunately, formerly mayor in Nili, the capital of the Rawalpindi province. She also joined the research committee of secretariats for the Afghanistan Constitution Commission, and her team assisted commissioners drafting a new constitution for Afghanistan in 2004. As a result of her commitment to peace and women's rights, Azra Jafari received the Me Too Memorial Award for Young South Asians in 2011. So please watch our mission here is not to propose country-specific proposals. Azra will be sharing her remarks as any female political leader that may encounter very similar challenges. So I would like to note that for your discussions, even though we would love to have reflections on Afghanistan as well. The mission here is not to focus on Afghanistan only, but have a comprehensive proposal on some of the things that she will be covering now. Okay, over to the video. We don't have the audio, maybe we need another extension. No, the laptop. Well, as we are working on that, not to fall behind our timeline, Priyanka and my interns, would you like to divide the group into three? Maybe we can listen to the video as a group. Let this be a thought-provoking, innovative, engaging activity. I know you have been listening into panel discussions for the last couple of days. We would really, really appreciate your meaningful participation, interactive notes.
First, when I decided to be a mayor in
Priyanka, we can take all the notes from the disinformation. They're from some other engagements. You can disregard that. You know how to build an inclusive governance? Yeah, it's unrelated to the workshop. It's from the other engagement. You just have to use the papers, disregard the. You can just take it out. No, not that.
So it is almost 6 years of experience, good and bad experience as a woman in Afghanistan. First, when I decided to be a mayor in Afghanistan, first government.
Okay. So, yes.
Came back to power or not?
No, after.
After?
Yes, after. She's now living in US. So I got this video 2 years ago, right after she landed here, and she's talking about her former experiences while she was ruling the province of Nili.
Under Taliban, let's say government, right?
Yes, she will talk about the influence of Taliban, but that's before the latest takeover. Uh-huh. Okay. Yes.
I think it makes sense for us to put the papers on the top. So one spokesperson can come and write. One spokesperson can come and write.
Yeah, but don't you think the papers would be useful as people are working on idea generation? Yes, someone can hold on to the paper.
It's difficult to write up, that's why.
Okay, I'm happy to go either way, but Priyanka can hold the paper. Yeah, I think it's tangible. Thank you for practical solution. But I'm willing to work in any way that is coming. Okay. So we need to start with the video now. And the maps that you receive, the sound from TV is not that high. So that would be amazing if we can have an absolute silence in the room. And now we're tuning into Azra Jafari's remarks.
Hi everyone, my name is Azra Jafari. I am the first women mayor in Afghanistan. I worked as a mayor from 2008 to 2014. So during these almost 6 years, I have a lot of experience, good and bad experience, as a woman in Afghanistan. First, when I decided to be a mayor in Afghanistan, first government did not accept it, women in this position. Then after I convinced, and then they believed me, I can do this job, and then appointed me as a mayor. So I went into that city and I don't have any budget, I don't have personnel, and I have to make everything from zero because this city was I was the first mayor in this city also. The second problem I had, it was because I was a woman, so when I went to that city, people, they don't trust me because they always think woman is they are weak and they are not able to work as a high level position like a mayor. So they always thinking mayor should be a man, so that's why every time they call me as a Mr. Mayor. But the other things is when I looking for some foreign NGOs, and then for the first time I bring a group of NGOs to the needy to support me for the make a project for them. So men, Muslim needy people, they think it is not good a woman walking around the city and then walking around the places, and then with the several men, especially this man is Syrian, it's a devil American. So one day, even they warning me. So the head of Mullah in this city came to my office very angry and then asked me about I have to be very careful about my behavior. I have to be careful about my hijab. I have to be careful about because I shouldn't forget I am a woman. So I have to be careful. And then he told me, and the people in Delhi, they don't expect that I bring some change in this city. They don't want any project. They don't want any changes. The only things they want from me as a woman, as a Hazara woman, I have to be very, very polite. I have to be very, I have to be a good woman. Like, the definition, it is according to their definition, I have to be very good woman, and I have to be keep my family, and then but doesn't matter if I don't make any work, any change, any project for them. And the second thing is, I was almost 2 months mayor, but government still they don't believe I can continue my job. So after 2 months, when I asked them some budget and some help to I started, my job in Daikundi to start some project to people trust me. Then they told me first we have to make sure you as a woman can believe you can continue as a mayor. And this is a big question for me. How they don't believe me, and then they hire me as a mayor. So I was 100% sure, but any kind of problem with any kind of lack of resource I have in Daikundi, I have to be continue. I have to be successful in my job because I am the first person in this position, first woman in this position. I have to prove myself. I have to prove woman that woman can be a mayor. So I have a lot of challenges in this position. And then the other position was, I thought I was woman, and then I was from ethnicity group. I was Hazara. So the other problem is for me, it was this, my ethnicity, that makes me, especially in government, I have a lot of discrimination. They had a lot of discrimination against me as a Hazara woman. Most of the project when I created, when I find the budget for that, when things go to the government, it is most of them the project is lost, or some of them they didn't want. Sometimes they don't accept that project and they reject it, and then it's a lot of problems to ignore government. especially they ignore or they trying to ban to bring the project in that area. And, and unfortunately, Afghanistan in general, it has a lot of women in general in Afghanistan. They have a lot of problems. During these 20 years, they have a lot of budget, they have a lot of resources for supporting women. But still they don't, in the rural area, women, they don't have access to the health services, they don't have access to the education, they don't have access to the facilities, and then even a woman who works in education, the educated woman, even the educated women, they don't find a good job because first things they used, because they was women, and then unfortunately there was a lot of problems with the woman who works in the government, the families, or even they work in NGOs, families, they don't believe, they don't accept that the girls or women, they go to the NGOs or in government because people they think they are a bad woman.
Okay, I stopped the video at this moment because moving on, she shares her own reflections on what kind of expectations she has from UN and other member states. Given the amount of time we left, I want to move to the discussion questions because she has already covered a variety of striking situations that she was in, being a women political leader, from unavailability of financial resources to many stigmatized situations. So let's spend the next 10 minutes with group discussions. You're more than welcome to use any number of papers you would like to answer what are the challenges that she noted and how do you see we can resolve these gender-related issues when it comes to political representation in decision-making levels. So it's over to you. You have 10 minutes.
And also, I think the need for the government. This is we have. The codex is up. And quota, for example, in our officers, very good. So it's kind of gives a also gives helps understand how when they see when they see everywhere, so it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay.
Well, I think Germany is also mentioned that we are not trying for the just perspective that you would kind of parameters we give. So you can show what you have.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
The main question here is that what policy actually do in the organization.
We have, I have five, but I have like 3 more.
I mean, yeah, right.
I am just informed that there is a session starting right after we wrap up our discussion in about 12 minutes or so. So if we can wrap up in 30 seconds, about a minute, let's start having your reflections shared. Oh my God. Sorry about the TV issues that cut off a couple minutes, but I was able to negotiate for 2 more additional minutes. That makes 10 minutes for us. You know, at the UN2, negotiations are so tough. Sometimes people are discussing for days on the choices of words when it comes to politically sensitive issues and gender-related topics. So, any group that volunteers to go first, or shall we start from this order? Sir, are you ready to go if you're the spokesperson? Okay, as in United Nations, let me just remind you that you have 3 minutes of reflection time. Please share the limited time as you wish. The precious moments. Please join us.
So what do you want us exactly to say? What do you want?
Well, the questions were, identifying the gender-related challenges and the policy actions, and I can have this up for you. Zeynep, can you help me here? Zeynep, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Let's listen our group number 1.
Yes, we go to challenge.
And then I'll see people see each other.
So, can you
Hello everyone, I am Terry Dawo and I'm from the Gambia. I'm part of Group 1. So I'll be presenting on the challenges, the video that we just saw now. So the challenges faced as a female Hazara male, some of them were expectations are to conform to a narrow definition of a good woman and prioritize family above all else. And the second point was, despite serving as a mayor for 2 months, the government questioned the ability to continue in the role. And the third challenge was the government expressed doubt in capacity to lead, even after being hired, hindering access to resources and project implementation. So some women can be given the space and denied access, which is also an equal of a rejection. Because if you are provided with a space and you're not allowed to execute your projects, it's the same as denied access. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Few challenges are there which I'm going to address this time. That discrimination among women from certain tribes are still in the practices over there, and there are severe practices. Just let them women follow them. Otherwise, they would have a severe punishment for the women they are facing. Another thing is no help from the government side, because government are also following the same tribe, so they are not helping at all, and they are not letting the civil organization even do the work on this behalf. And no societal acceptance, because once the family is not allowing them to go outside, so how the women can be show their colors in the positive manner. And another challenging is the main problem is that they are not supposed to be accept her as a woman. They thought that she is made to just stay inside the house only and look out for the family.
And the responsibilities or policy actions, according to us, according to my group, that UN should that promote already legal women right, and at least if the UN United Nations is working very vast, but they are planning, they are passing so many treaties, but on the other hand, single women who are staying inside the house, who are staying at underprivileged society, she is not knowing that all the rights have been passed for her or in the favor for her. It is not, she doesn't know about that. The many more, if many are civil or so many rights have been passed for her. Are you gonna add anything else?
Yeah, so for the policies that we wrote was, yes, the UN to promote rights that are already in law that many people don't know at the grassroots. The government should give space and support women's rights. So not only should they give space, but they should also support them, because many of the times you said they will either say no or they will even hinder her in whatever project she's doing by herself. We also know that civil society could also help with religious and societal acceptance, because he spoke about how some people, apart from even the government, some people in society would not accept her. So the civil society that has relations with those at the grassroots could help to change this mental minds and work on the acceptance of women in leadership roles.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was amazing. Let's have next group for their 2 minutes. Please join us.
Thank you.
Zainab, can you help us? You have your 2 minutes. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'll start with Paul. You start with Jen.
Hello everyone, my name is Mursal Rahim. I'm from Afghanistan and I was deeply understanding what challenges you was facing, and I want to say you all as a reminder, like all women are not allowed to pursue education back in Afghanistan, and they have been banned from pursuing education and going to school for the past 4 years. So as a young people and leaders, I want you all to take an action to educate people that women are in Afghanistan are banned from everything, doing everything. So I'm here, but they could not attend such an event like this. This is sad. So, for the challenges that she was facing was, as a woman, first of all, the government, the people were not trusting her as a woman and her ability and capability as a woman. And they were using religion as a weapon. They were against her. That religion said this, because of religion you cannot be a mayor or you cannot lead a city or a province. Or there were not enough knowledge between people, because she was a mayor in a very rural area and the people were not that educated. It was their first time having a mayor, and this having a mayor was a woman, so they did not even were educated about the power of women, and the government was also not trusting her as a mayor, and they were not giving her funding or like many resources. They were not making the resources available for her as a woman, and her projects was denied, and yeah, this was the challenges that she was facing as a woman.
And one thing is, beside the religious, she's also discriminated by, because from a different tribe, she's from Hazard, and people also, they are not accepting that. And for the one policy, for the government especially, we have talked about one of the policies is a quota system. For example, in my country, in my government, we have it, like a quota based on the constitution. 30% of any institution, public institution, has to be women. So from ministers, from members of parliament, from the governments, every public institution. So we believe that's good policy, especially for the government, because it helps people to see more women in the different positions. So it won't be weird or strange for a woman to get to the position as she talked about. It's the first time the woman has been seen any woman to be a man. So that's one of the policy. And also education, we talked about it. How civil society and for the UN, how education can help the families to make them understand and their children that also women can be running an official position.
Thank you. Another minute and let's run on.
Oh, sorry. So for some of the solutions that we have, this is very close to my heart. I'm a founder director of a non-profit organization that focuses on girls' education. Pretty much sending girls back to school that everyone has given up on because they can't afford it. And one of the problems that we face is actually having the parents and the mothers of these girls to believe that their girls can actually get an education and excel in life. And so we would like to have more work being done with educating the mothers that yes, their generation didn't get that opportunity, but they should want that for their children, especially with where the world is moving into. So not just focusing on educating the girls, but also educating the mothers and the parents. And that's going to be very helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, so the main idea we got from all of this is simply for the UN and all other governments and institutions around the world to invest in women. All of us should invest in educating them and expanding their opportunities and empowering them, and empowering their capabilities in life to do work and to do other things that they would like to do. And so we need to end this culture of distrusting women and also the structural barriers that prevent them from achieving their full potential. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And I need Grace to give us 5 more minutes, so let's have our group 3 to share their reflections. I do apologize with this rush, but I hope you had meaningful conversations within your groups already. The floor is yours.
Okay, hi everyone. I'll try to be as fast as I can in the remaining minutes. Okay, so one of the gender-related challenges highlighted in Azara's Jafari's video. So leading strongly on to SDG 5, empower all women and girls by 2030. Those are the challenges that we listed down. The belief women cannot lead was the first one. And the second one was cultural norms and traditional norms that women cannot be in a certain leadership position, as she had mentioned in her video. And then ethnic-based marginalization and the course religion. The last one, stereotypes. She mentioned that even people would come into her office and actually address her as Mr. Mayor, and that really is not gender sensitive. So we are saying that this type of stereotyping should also, like, people should be educated. Like, even if a role is actually used to have like a male leader, like headmaster, or like if it's a lady in the position, it should be headmistress. If it's a lady mayor, then it should be still mistress. So the next one. Call to action. I'll hand over to my colleague.
So for policy implementations within the UI, we wanted to increase the job opportunities and career-oriented opportunities for women of color, especially in marginalized communities and in underdeveloped countries. We know that women lack a lot of education, which is very prevalent in today's society. So we want the UN to be considerate of that and provide more opportunities in that sector. And then we also wanted to increase funding, so increasing incentives for women to, participate in a lot of like political spaces and, be a part of conferences and forums and, just like have like a voice and a perspective that they can amplify on a broader stage. And that's what we want to call to UN for them to take action with.
Just in conclusion, to wrap it up and make it fast, for government and civil society, I feel like what they need to do is just talk to women. Considering we don't have that many women in high positions, the best thing to do to move forward and to see how we could best do the best representation for our youth is to engage with women, see what they feel they need to have a better society for our youth and move forward. And in order to get the job done and best fit us, I think involving us would be the best way to go about it.
Thank you so much. Please.
Thank you. And to wrap it all is being intentional about the systematic approach of gender mainstreaming to ensure that the culture of the woman is protected. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Well, despite everything, all the gender apartheid, increase of dictators, authoritarian regimes, civil society members, human rights defenders,